Pushing past the limits, tripping on hallucinogenics. By the bees want arson. Summary. This is all Sokka's fault. If he had just done his job, none of this would have happened. Or, Sokka sends Aang shopping in his place, and he accidentally grabs the wrong bottle. One that just happens to contain a hallucinogenic. That Zuko happens to consume. So yes, this is Sokka's fault. This fic includes crying, sobbing, past child abuse, angst and humor, hurt/comfort, vomiting, and seizures. This is a gen fic, so no ships. Well, maybe Suki and Sokka, but that's like canon. Alright, let's get into it. This wouldn't have happened. Sokka would have just gotten supplies like he was supposed to, but no, he sent Aang, a 12-year-old with the attention span of a toddler. And if the wrong bottle, one that happened to be filled with fire grass, just happened to be grabbed instead of the bottle of chili powder, who would know? Not Aang, that's for sure. He was too busy trying to speed through the shopping to notice his hand grabbing the wrong item. The small bottle filled with inconspicuous red flakes that looked exactly like chili powder, the shade of red coloring them just a few tones darker. The spice had been added to the shopping list at the last minute courtesy of Zuko, who was left forgotten on the shelf while its tosser lay innocently on the basket bouncing in Aang's arms. Sitting in the courtyard, Katara stirred the stew with a wave of her hand. Looking down at the boiling pot, she declared it was done, and proceeding to fill the bowls with flicks of her wrist. Sighing, she grabbed the bottles filled with different spices that she and each of the members of the team preferred in their food. She and her brother liked to add dried kelp flakes to their meals. Toph liked a mixture of cumin and ground herbs that could be bought in town. Suki mostly enjoyed just pepper added to her food, as it was native and cultivated in Kyoshi Island. Aang preferred his food either bland or sweet, not really caring for too much of flavor, but enjoying sweet things immensely. And Zuko liked chili. The first time Sokka had tried a bite of Zuko's food, it ended with him guzzling down water with tears streaming down his face as Toph cackled in the background. Katara carefully added the seasoning to their respective bowls, never noticing the different label on the bottle of would-be chili powder intended for Zuko's bowl, and dropping a generous amount to the bowl and mixing it thoroughly. Now, you see, firegrass contains some of the same qualities as chili powder, both red, both spicy, but only one of them had hallucinogenic properties. Firegrass causes hazy thoughts, euphoria and sporadic bursts, occasionally seizures, and most importantly vivid and most of the time violent hallucinations. Now, if Sokka had just done his job, none of this would have happened. "Dinner's ready!" Katara called out towards the open area in the middle of the courtyard where everyone was hanging out. "Yeah, food time!" Toph yelled before she formed a pile of loose rocks to glide over on, with Aang bouncing along behind her with Sokka trailing after them, while Zuko and Suki brought up the rear, walking at more a sedate pace. "There's enough for everyone to have seconds tonight," Katara added, as she handed each of them their respective bowls, before grabbing her own and beginning to eat. "Thank you, thank you, thank you," were chorused from around the circle as they settled to eat. Zuko's thanks was quieter than the rest, but Katara has noticed that was just normal for him. Not being loud, he fell back to being extremely quiet. Zuko spooned his food into his mouth, not noticing anything different except a slight change in flavor. Katara must have been trying something different, he decided. When his bowl was empty, he spooned in another portion before reaching for the bottle that contained his chili flakes. As he went to pour it into his bowl, his eyes saw a difference in the label from the usual bottle. Turning the bottle to face upward so he could read the carefully printed script, as his eyes scanned the label, his thoughts screeched to a halt. It wasn't chili flakes sitting endlessly in the bottle. Shit! Zuko breathed out the curse before biting out a much empathetic swear. Fucking shit! Katara gave him an odd look before turning back to her meal. Nobody else seemed to have noticed his panic, too absorbed in the conversation with each other. Who went shopping today? Zuko demanded, too panicked to watch his tone. The question was pointing at the group who were still in the midst of their meal. They looked towards him at his pointed question, looking slightly bewildered at his tone. Why? Aang asked, gray eyes slightly widened and fidgeting in place slightly. 'Cause whoever went got the wrong bottle, Zuko replied, holding out the bottle for them to see. Sokka snorted. Aw, is Printy mad because he didn't get his spices? He said, mocking the older teen playfully. No, Zuko deadpanned back, not looking amused in the least. I'm mad because the one we have called the Hallucinations, he said flatly. And it just happened to eat quite a lot. That shut Sokka up. They gaped at him, not quite believing his words. Katara was the first to move. Moving towards him, she uncapped her water skin and began to run water up and down his stomach and chest. Zuko couldn't help the small flinch at her first contact. By it went unnoticed by the waterbender and her concentration. Wait, hallucinations? Sokka was the first to speak. Does it cause anything else? He asked, his analytical mind racing. Yeah, Zuko replied, looking up from Katara's hand on his chest, glowing blue, to look at Sokka while answering his question. What are they? Katara asked, moving her hands to his arms, most likely to check his bloodstream. And why are you taking this so calmly? She continued, her voice taking on a frantic edge. Zuko looked away from Sokka, blinking gold eyes slowly, the left one barely moving. The girl then letting chuck of his scar tissue preventing movement. Looking down, his hands clasped tightly into fists at his sides. He answered, Delirium, out of character rambling, probably drastic increase in my emotions, but it won't have any effect on me physically, I think. Most likely exhaustion, maybe a fever, I don't know. Vigress is unpredictable. He huffed. And I am freaking out. Screaming is just on the inside. Zuko finished, trying to lighten the mood. It succeeded a little, drawing chuckles from them. Katara let out a frustrating noise as she threw her hands up in annoyance and exasperation. I can't do anything. Utterly is useless for this, she growled out. The group edged slightly away from her, careful of her ire. Aang was looking guiltily at Zuko, gray eyes wide and lips trembling. I'm sorry, Zuko. I swear I didn't mean to grab the wrong bottle. I swear, if I had known, I would have been extra careful. The small monk was wringing his hands, looking guilty. Zuko sighed. It wasn't your fault, Aang. You didn't know. Got it? Aang looked unsure, but still nodded after a moment of hesitation. Zuko pinched the bridge of his nose, sighing again. Black hair falling into his eyes before being blown to the side with a quick breath. When the fire grass kicks in, one of you should stay with me at all times, he said after a moment of silence. I don't know how I'll react to any of this, so one of you should be around just in case I go batshit. Got it? They all nodded, looking weirdly worried for him. Why would they be worried about him? He didn't deserve it, so why? It'll probably be about an hour or so before it kicks in, depending on how much was in my bowl. He continues, shrugging off Katara's worried hand as he stood up. Now, I'm going to go burn something. Now I'm going to go burn something, he said before turning and walking to the other side of the courtyard, before yelling loudly, letting out a jet of hot flame from his mouth. He continued letting out massive amounts of fire while the gang watched apprehensively. Well, Suki began, at least he's not burning down the house. Yeah. Hey, he's stressed. I mean, who wouldn't be in this situation? Guitar said. Just let him work it out, and when the grass stuff kicks in, we'll watch him. Turning to Toph, she continued, Toph, do you think you can try to stay nearby most of the time? Because you'll be able to sustain him the easiest if we have to. Sure thing, Sugar Queen. It shouldn't be that hard anyway. Sparky's a softie under all that angsty emo-ness anyway, Toph answered, staring blankly towards where she could feel the vibrations Zuko was creating, and the warmth from his flame softly emanating off him towards the group and washing over them like a warm breeze. It started slowly. Once Zuko had calmed down and stopped spewing flames, Katara had herded him off to where they were camping out. None of them had felt like staying inside the house, especially not Zuko. So they had set up camp in the courtyard on a patch of softened stone courtesy of Toph, because none of them wanted to sleep on the hard stone floor without some sort of cushion. The house had been raided by them for a huge supply of blankets and pillows that they had taken and layered on the ground to create one large batch of soft bedding. None of them minded sharing as the physically affectionate people, especially Aang, with the exception of Zuko, who could barely tolerate the hugs Aang was known to give, or her arm flung casually over his shoulder by Sokka. Toph, Suki, and Katara seemed to notice this and kept their hands to themselves, aside from the occasional punch to the arm from Toph. This time, though, Katara grabbed his wrist and tugged him towards the pile of blankets, but not before giving him a warning about touching him. She pushed him down to his bedroll at the outskirts of the pile. Stay here, Katara ordered. Zuko just nodded, his mind already beginning to go loopy. It had only been around 30 minutes, but Katara had at least added 2 tablespoons of the firegrass into his bowl, when she would usually add that same amount of chili flakes to it. Even in smaller amounts, firegrass would be exceptionally potent. Now, Zuko didn't think that Momo could talk, so he's pretty sure the drug had kicked in by now, because Momo seemed to be doing just that. The lemur had come to stand in front of Zuko, staring at him unblinkingly, with wide green eyes, not breaking eye contact. Zuko stared back, gold eyes wide. Pick me up, pick me up, pick me up, the mammal chittered noisily. From the outside perspective, it just looked like a small lemur and a teenager were having a stare down. Zuko moved first. He slowly lifted his arm forward, still not breaking eye contact, and moved his hands under the lemur's front legs. And slowly lifting him up, his body dangled freely from Zuko's outstretched arms, and he stared back at the firebender, green eyes wide, not a thought behind them. I didn't know you could talk, Zuko said, awed. There was a stifled giggle in the background that went ignored. Drawing his hands to his body, Zuko tucked the mammal to his chest and settled his chin on the lemur's head in between his fluffy ears. You're very soft, Mr. Momo, he murmured against the soft white fur on the top of the lemur's head. Momo, for his part, seemed content to just let the teen hold him. Zuko's eyes had gone hazy and his mind fuzzy. He pet the small creature for a while, just enjoying the feeling of soft fur beneath his hands. He stared humming shakily, trying to copy the tune of his mother to use to sing softly as men sing quietly by the pond feeding the turtle ducks. Who's your friend there, Zuko? A voice questioned. Turning, Zuko was met with the figure of his mother. She looked exactly like she had the last time she saw her. Her soft flowing robes that had been always preferred were a soft red color, her hair done up in an elaborate top knot with the rest hanging freely down her back. "This is Mr. Momo. He's a lemur," he answered, turning slightly to give his mother a better view. "He's very soft. Do you want to pet him?" he asked softly, holding Momo out slightly. The lemur looked confused, but was still content to stay in the warm human hand. "I would love to, honey," Ursa answered before holding out a hand and running it softly through the soft fur. There was no movement in Momo's fur, Zuko noticed, the hair laying still in the wake of his mother's hand. It didn't matter, he decided, before turning back to his mother. His mother was gone. Father banished her. Why was she here? How was she here? She can't be here. She left me. Garbled speech brought his attention away from the thoughts of his mother. Turning towards the sound, he saw a small girl in green. Strong. She was strong. Her name was Toph. And a darker, taller girl in blue. Water. Cold. Clean. Katara. That's Katara. The girl in blue, Katara seemed to be talking to him, her mouth moving to form words that made no sense to him. The syllables sounding as if they were coming from underwater. He stared at her uncomprehendingly, usually luminous eyes hazy, and mouth slack, lips barely parted. Katara must have noticed this because she huffed, clearly frustrated, but gave him a soft smile before turning away. Zuko blinked, returning back to his mother. She wasn't there. "Mother?" Zuko called out, swiveling his head back and forth. Mother, where are you?" He stumbled to his feet, lemur still clutched to his chest. He surveyed the yard, eyes darting back and forth. His head was spinning. A hand grabbed his arm, steadying him. He turned towards whoever was holding him, distantly noticing it was Toph. "Have you seen Mother? I can't find Mother." Sorry, Sparky, but I definitely haven't seen your mom. There was a hint of humor in her voice when she answered, but he couldn't grasp why. Why is it Why? Why is it funny? Was it funny? Did I say something? Where's Mother? I don't think I can help either, though. Why? Why can't she help? I have to find Mother. Did she leave me again? Why? Why? He asked, his voice wobbling dangerously. Why can't she help me? Cause I don't know where she is, Sparky, or even her name. Oh, that makes sense. She can't help because she doesn't know who doesn't know Mother. Can I help you? A bright voice chimes in, sounding young and feminine, a happy lilt to it. Zuko turned away from Toph to see who it was. Lala? No, it's not Lala. It can't. Lala doesn't sound happy like that. She's cool. Lala's cool. But there she was, looking 11 years old again, her eyes bright and cheerful in a way that was never present when she was around him. Her eyes were always gold, piercing through his body like a falcon eagle does its prey. She looked happy, a beaming smile on her face. Hands clasped behind her back and bouncing on the balls of her feet. She looked exactly like she did back then, hair tied up in a top knot, bangs hanging loose, her clothes black and red, made for fighting, and sharp around the edges. I can help you find her, Zuzu. Don't call me that, he snapped back at her. And how can you help me? You have to follow me, dum-dum. Before he could refuse, she skipped away. The floor shifted, changing to coal-black tile before extending to a long, dark hallway illuminated with scarcely placed metal torches. The palace? Why am I in the palace? He doesn't want to be here. Can I leave, please? No, I don't want to be here. Let me out. I don't like it here. Zuko's voice was hushed as if not to be heard, but it was filled with quiet panic. His eyes were blown wide, darting back and forth. Momo screeched, making him jump. Looking down, Zuko saw Lemur looking back at him inquiringly. Shh, you have to be quiet. He doesn't like it when I'm loud, Zuko said hurriedly, holding Momo tighter to his chest, tucking the lemur's head under his chin as if to shield him from an unknown threat. The hall was dark, the drapes covering the windows pulled slightly shut. A laugh rang out. It was a cruel sound. It held no joy, no happiness to be found, just a ringing, calculated mockery. A shiver ran up Zuko's spine, morphing to a full-body shudder halfway through. No, 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 not Father. Please, not him. Father? Zuko's voice wavered, echoing slightly through the corridor. The torches flickered harshly before going out entirely, plunging Zuko into darkness. A yelp burst from his throat, a keen, high-pitched noise that echoed in the hallway. Zuko. Yes, Zuko. Hello? Run! Zuko stumbled back violently, tripping over himself and landing harshly on his ass. The voice was screeching garbled words, the pitch making his ears and head ring sharply. He let out a whimper, covering his ears with his hands, and he tried to stand up. Honor, Prince Father, please, Green, please, change, using Azula, Avatar, Sun, fight, please, stand, please, fight, please, Prince Zuko. The screeching just happened to keep getting higher in pitch, the frequency piercing through his skull. Momo was gone, having jumped away at some point. Where is he? Where's the soft one? Please come back. I'm sorry. I'll do better. I promise. Please. He finally succeeded in stumbling upright. The floor was heaving underneath his feet as bright flashes lit up the dark in sudden bursts, sending pricks of pinpoint pain against his eyes. There was a hand against him. He flinched badly, ducking his head, trying to shrink in on himself. The hand seemed to hesitate for a moment before retreating. A second or days could have passed before Zuko lifted his head. In reality, close to 45 minutes had passed with Zuko sitting stock still, head ducked and hands covering his ears. Concern was practically radiating from the rest of the group, but there was nothing they could do. They just had to wait it out and just let the drug run its course. The drug had changed. The scene had changed. It was no pitch black anymore, just merely dim. He was back in his private room aboard the Wani, dark metal walls and floor gleaming dully in the low light. The Fire Nation's flag hung on the walls. The smell of burnt flesh and rot permeated the air, filling the room with cloying scent. He gagged. Acrid bile flew up his throat, and he splattered wetly on the floor, leaving a sour taste in his mouth. There were voices around him yelling things he couldn't make out. There were hands on him again, but this time they didn't leave. He tried to push them off and push himself away, but they held fast. Leave, leave, leave. Just leave. Go away. His words were slurred and gravely, throat burning from the bile. Leave. Go away. He was shaking badly, trembling against the hand holding him. Still trying to dislodge them, he flung his elbows out suddenly, hoping to get himself away. They hit something solid and warm. Fucking hell! Fucking hell! Fucking hell! Tiantai Li, that hurt! Exclaimed Sokka, holding his bleeding nose with both hands. His arms ached harshly now from the impact with the unknown surface. Fire ignited suddenly on his hand, spreading quickly up his arms toward his face and down the rest of his body. He screamed, Hurts! Make it stop! Make it stop! He was sobbing now, full body sensation and hiccuping wails bursting from his throat. The courtyard was back now with its stone floors and open sky. Tears were blurring his good eye and rendering his bad one useless. He could barely make out the figures of people around him and had no chance of seeing any distinct figures, only getting masses of color. What hurts? The blue mask asked. Their voice sounded distorted and mingled with silly words. Burns, it burns! He choked out, a whimper joined the second. Katara, make it stop. Make it stop hurting me. Katara, that was Katara. Ice and water, a necklace, the full moon, twin koi fish whirling around and around, black and white, providing a sharp contrast with each other. Blood chirping like a puppet on strings, spears of ice creating a dome of death over a cowering man. I don't know how, Katara explained, kneeling in front of the hysterical firebender, the group hating seeing the normally strong, stoic teen sobbing, kneeling on the ground, begging for help. Do you need Toph to restrain him? Do you need Toph to restrain him? Sokka questioned quietly. Do you need Toph to restrain him? Sokka questioned quietly, standing slightly away, still holding his bleeding nose. Not yet. Katara sighed, holding Zuko's wrist gently, one in each hand. Only if he tries hurting himself or someone else on accident. Aang, Toph, and Suki were standing next to Sokka anxiously, not knowing how to help. I want Uncle, please, I want Uncle. He could barely breathe, the sobs racking his body, not allowing any air into his lungs. Breathe, Prince Zuko. Breathe, Prince Zuko. Uncle, that's Uncle. Ira's voice was coming from beside him. Smooth voice was coming from beside him. He fell forward in someone while looking to the right where he heard Uncle's voice form. Arms wrapped around him from wherever he'd fallen to, still sobbing, his head was leaned against someone's chest. He was looking, but he couldn't find Uncle's voice anywhere. Where's Uncle? I need Uncle, please. Where is he? Tilting his head up, Zuko could make out the features of the person holding him. Suddenly, everything just stopped. The fear, the hysteria, the pain, everything. What happened? Why am I here? Is he blue? His hair is blue. It's not supposed to be blue, is it? Your hair is blue, he said bluntly, tears still wet on his face, but no longer did new ones appear. Still panting, trying to catch his breath, Zuko lifted one hand and touched Sokka's hair. Sokka. This is Sokka. He likes meat, I think, and weapons. Boomerangs. He has a boomerang. Zuko nodded resolutely to himself, and hand trying to get a hold on Sokka's wolf tail. Wolf tail? Why do you call it a wolf tail? There's no wolves in your hair. His eyes blue-eyed. Is there wolf in your hair? Zuko looked like a child in that moment, golden eyes wide and glazed. Fluffy hair sticking up in all directions. His hair was resting against Sokka's chest. At some point he had moved his legs to the side and slung them over Sokka, so he's laying on his lap, both darting his hand up to grab Sokka's wolf tail with the speed of a wolf bat. Zuko leaned forward, peering intently at Sokka's hair, shifting his thin fingers through it, searching for something. Hey, ow, stop that! Sokka yelled, tilting his head downwards to alleviate the tugging. What are you doing? Stop pulling! Zuko looked at Sokka for a moment before going back to his task. I'm looking for the wolves. Are they blue? There were colors swirling around in the air. Zuko abandoned his task of looking for wolves in Sokka's hair and favored trying to touch the wisp of color wavering around the air. Sokka was saying something. Probably. What? Did you hear that? He thinks I have two damn wolves in my hair. Damned wolves in my hair, Sokka explained, sounding outraged. Everyone else was letting out small laughs, heavily relieved that Zuko seemed to calm down from his panic. You're a bed now, Suzzles, Toph added, face light with glee, but she still had worry set in her edges of her face. Zuko's eyes froze, wide, w- eyes blowing wide, blowing way wider than before. Oh, something's wrong. I don't like it. With with that brief warning, his eyes rolled up to his head, his muscles tensed and strained as they tightened. They watched in shock as Zuko began to seize, petrified for a few heartbeats before moving. Suki rushed over, dropping to her knees before pulling Zuko out of Sokka's lap. Zuko's teeth were clenched, his lips pulled tightly over them, his throat was swelling spastically, violent shudders racking his entire frame. Saliva began frothing out of his mouth, bubbling up to the corners of his lips. Help me get him on his side, Suki said while moving him to a position. Now! Katara rushed to help. She helped heft Zuko onto his side and hold him there. Toph and Aang moved to sit on the ground above Zuko's head, Aang worrying on his hands together and sniffling, while Toph sat rock still, listening to the vibrations, trying to find anything in them that could make Zuko's conditions worse. It was, as they could hear, was Zuko's bones creaking under the strain, but it was only in their minds. Bile worked its way up his throat once again, working its way out his clenched teeth, and landing on the ground with a wet splatter. Chest heaving and hands clawed out, Zuko continued to shake for a few more moments before the seizing petered out. It hurts, please, I'm sorry, I'm your loyal son, please, it hurts. It burns, I don't like it, please make it stop. Zuko could feel his body twitching erratically every few seconds, and the taste of bile sitting heavily in his mouth. He was laying on the ground now, he noticed, no longer laying in the blue one's lap. The stone was cold beneath him. He swallowed heavily, cringing at the taste in his mouth. There was people around, he could tell. Cold, it's cold. There was heavy sighs of relief from above, followed by movement, a small hand grabbing his own, squeezing tightly. He squeezed back weakly, hands still meek and twitching occasionally. Craning his neck back, he could see the small green one. Toph. He liked Toph. He knew that Toph was good. Hey, Spark Breath, how you doing? Toph's voice was uncharacteristically soft. I'm cold, and I don't know what happened. But I didn't like it. You had a seizure, Zuko. You had a seizure, Zuko. It was Suki who answered the question. A seizure? He had heard of those before, but he didn't think he could ever have one. And he never wanted to have another one. A blanket was draped over his body, the heavy weight grounding him somewhat. He saw a floating blob of water move on the ground in front of his face, cleaning vomit off the stone floor. Zuko cringed. Ew, why is there fish in it? In what, Zuko? The thing, the blue thing. You mean Katara's water? Yes, yes, it's called water, Zuko explained. But why are there fish in it? Fish have to stay in the ocean. Ocean. He sounded so confused. Eyes not coherent at all. He was still cold, the blanket still not warm enough. Sokka, can you please pick him up and bring him to the bedrolls, please? Katara asked, half listening to Zuko mumble something about fish. Why fish? Her brother nodded, before moving closer to the nearest firebender. Hey, buddy, I'm gonna pick you up, alright? Zuko looked up blearily before nodding after a moment. He could feel arms reach under him, picking him up from underneath his back and legs. Ooh, I'm flying. Zuko slurred as Sokka lifted him up, his head lolled against the blue-clad chest. You sure are, buddy, Sokka replied sarcastically before grunting. Spears, what do you eat? Rocks? Zuko grinned, eyes crossing. Nope, I eat stew and fruit and meat. And Jook, Uncle makes the best joke. So, Sokka, you have to try it, okay? Sure, Zuko, I'll try it. He was settled into something soft by Sokka. That was Sokka, right? A white bundle of fur left in Zuko, curling into his side. Mr. Momo, there you are. I was looking for you. He shakily reached down to pet the lemur before looking at Sokka. Do you know Mr. Momo? Yep, I've known him for quite a while. He's very, very soft. Do you want to pet him? Sure, Zuko. The rest of the night passed in much the same way. No, Zuko, spit the rock out. You cannot eat that, Suki demanded, trying to pry the firebender's mouth open. Toph was cackling in the background, openly amused at happening. Oh my god, he had a seizure. He didn't say that could happen. He did say that he didn't know what all that could do, only what some of the effects were. I guess, but still. It hurt, it burned, pink, stop. Shh. I'm sorry, Zuko. I don't know how. I'm so sorry. Katara tried to soothe the delusional teen, running a hand through his hair softly. He had been thrashing and crawling out on his bedroll for 20 minutes now, with no sign of stopping. Sokka herded the younger kids inside to eat something and take a break, only so Suki could remain outside with her and Zuko. Please, I'm sorry, sir. Oh my god, I promise. Tears streamed down Zuko's face, pulling at his. His eyes were distant, and it was clear that his mind wasn't present, but Katara still had to try. You're already good, Zuko. You're doing great, I promise. Can I have a snack? Zuko asked, moving his eyes from the empty patch of air he had been watching studiously. Sure thing, Zuko. What do you want? Aang was bouncing at the opportunity to finally do something helpful. I want the spiky ones, Zuko replied. What spiky ones? You know the sweet ones that have little spikes? The spiky sweet ones? Aang thought for a moment before realizing his drink. Lunchies! You know, lychees? Lychees! You want lychees? I want those. Okay. Guys, it's happening again. Toph yelled towards the house where the rest of the group went for a quick snack. Toph was deciding to stay outside to make sure Zuko was okay. He'd been staring blankly at nothing again, so he thought it would be fine and leave him for a moment. About halfway through the break, Zuko started seizing again. Shit! Hold him down. Everyone rushed out the house back to the courtyard where they proceeded to move Zuko on his side to wait it out. It stopped, this time without any bodily fluids being spilled. Just drool. Zuko was crying again. Shh, you're okay, buddy. It's fine. It's over. It's fine. Zuko reached down to wipe the drool off Zuko's chin, shushing him gently. I don't wanna. Zuko's voice was muddled, and all he could force out were stuttered mumbles. I don't like it that kid. I don't wanna, kid. Sweat was beading on his hairline, slicking his hair down, and plastering it to his forehead. That's okay, bud. It's past. That one's over. I'm just gonna pick you up again and put you next to Appa on the pile of blankets, okay? Yep, he's very soft. Okay, Sokka confirmed before returning. Hey, can you guys set up next to Appa? Sokka yelled out. Yeah, was the reply before they started moving blankets towards the bison. It was around 3 in the morning before Zuko finally fell asleep, nuzzled in the Appa's thick fur and swaddled blankets. The group had collectively held their breath for a few minutes until he had been asleep for a few minutes before heaving a heavy sigh of relief. "Oh God, I'm so tired," Katara said, slumping her shoulders forward. "Oh, oh, Spirit, I'm so tired." Why didn't they change that? Katara said, slumping her shoulders forward. Backs had developed under hers and everyone else's eyes. Exhaustion from the hours of watching Zuko taking their toll. "Go to sleep. I'll wake one of you in a few hours for the next watch," Suki piped in. She was used to pulling all-nighter, so she could do it again, even if watching Zuko had taken extra out of her. "You don't have to tell me twice," Sokka said before rolling into his sleeping bag. "Yeah, good night," Katara added. "If Zuko wakes up or you need help, just wake me up." Katara was out as soon as she finished her sentence. Aang and Toph joining them. Moving into their own sleeping bags, Suki sighed, resigning herself for a few more hours without sleep. Zuko woke up slowly. It wasn't dramatic wake up. There was no leaping, no shouting, no heart hammering in his chest. Just one moment he was asleep, and the next he was not. He didn't feel well rested. On the contrary, he felt exhausted. His head hurt and his whole body ached. He pushed the blankets down off his chest, and into his lap before weakly sitting up. It took him a minute, and he was panting slightly before he heaved himself into a sitting position against the flying bison. Swelling thickly around his dry tongue, he looked around, finding the various members of the group splayed out around him in their own sleeping bags. He could remember part of the night before. Remember Sokka comforting him after a seizure. A fucking seizure! Toph holding his hand, holding Momo close to his chest, Aang nervously flooding around trying to help. Sokka taking rocks out of his mouth. "Why were there rocks in my mouth? Did I eat rocks?" Katara soothed him gently like a mother would do with a child with a skinned knee. "Why would they do that? Why would they help me?" He remembered burning. He remembered Blue and Mother and the palace and darkness. He remembered spasming uncontrollably and sobbing hysterically afterwards. He remembered soft hands, the soothing voices trying to comfort him, trying to help. He remembered fish and water, and he remembered crying, the tears leaving his face wet. Hey, are you back with us, buddy?" A voice broke Zuko from his thoughts, snapping his head up to see at some point during his thoughts the rest of them had awoken. It was Sokka who had spoke, his voice underlaid with worry. "Yeah, I think so," Zuko rasped, his throat slightly sore. "Great," Sokka replied, voice filled with relief. We were really worried about ya. You know?" An orange blur tackled Zuko into a hug, clinging to it tightly. It took a second for him to process the fact he had a small monk clashing to his front. "I was so worried. Don't ever do it again, okay? And I'll always do the shopping better. I'll be extra careful, okay?" Aang ended up his battle with a small sniff, clinging way harder to the firebender. Zuko awkwardly patted his back with one hand, looking confused. "Okay, I guess." Ooh, okay. Ooh, okay. Now that that's settled, Zuko, my buddy, my pal, my fire friend, my one and only prison break buddy, was I really blue? Did I look good? Zuko's red face and flitting denials were a welcome sight. Okay, so after now, the podfic, whatever I am, have you ever talked for like an hour and a half straight? Because I recorded another podfic right before this, but this one is 44 minutes and a half long. Have you ever talked that long? I am a very quiet person, and I don't talk much, so my voice is like dead. The only reason why I think I've survived this long is because I have voice lessons, and my voice is this that after all of those, and it's gotten better as I podficked like a few times, but I have not podficked this long. My longest podfic so far before this one is like half the size of this, but I love Avatar: The Last Airbender fics, and this creator, shout out to them. This fic's really good. Yeah, hold on. Okay, so like, have you ever like? I did not have a voice for Iroh. Actually, I didn't have a voice for any of them. I came up on all of them on the spot and just tried to match it best to the characters. Like Azula and Ursa. I think I had their voices completely different in the few lines that they had, even though they were like a few things apart. And Iroh, his voice did not match at all. I did not know how to match Iroh. I am a girl, and like in my own head, my voice is like really deep, but Iroh's is like he's a grown man, right? He's an old man. Well, he's not old, but he's like old. You know what I mean? Yeah. Um. So I had to go 30 minutes without water and speaking in a row. I did not take a break for 30 minutes. There's a few cuts after that 30 minutes because I went to get water because my voice was absolutely dead. And because I podficked another fic before this one. It's the I got what? I think I forget the fic name, even though I read over it like a million times. What is that fic name? I forgot. But like I'm pretty sure I'm just rambling, by the way, into a microphone right now. It's like 10, 12 while I'm recording this bit. And I started at like 9 for this fic because I had to redo a few things. And I'm dead. I go to bed at like 11 because I need to get up like tomorrow at a decent time, and I need to not be sleep deprived like I was yesterday. And like also this fic is just great. Also, it sounds kind of like Zuko and X Sakurai. I don't know. It was not tagged, so I'm just gonna guess it's like friendship. I mean, I like Sokka X Zuko, but it wasn't tagged, and I don't know if I'm just misinterpreting that. But I mean, it could be friendship. Girls do that all the time, and they aren't like, yeah, they could be just friends in this fic, but I don't know. Um, Also, poor Aang. Like, little dude accidentally broke his friend. That I never thought I would say that in a sentence, though. Yeah, so this is the end of the fic. Hope you enjoyed, and goodbye.